pretty much everybody these days knows, that's how you get to websites and stuff, thepowerofvoices.com. In fact, you don't even have to do that anymore. You just put the Power of Voices in, and if you've ever been there before, it just brings it up so perfectly. But anyway, this is the Jesse T Show, and you're back with me in the parking lot here out in front of thepowerofvoices.com. You can see we're kind of just walking the parking lot right now. It's got great light out here. If you're tuning in on the video stream on our digital broadcasting network and the TV station, of course, you can reach us at thepowervoices.com. Right there directly, that'll take you to YouTube Live and our Facebook site on thepowervoices.com, or you can go to our app for thepowervoices.com and hit that app. It's a free download for the Androids and the Apple phones. And you can, and I'm bending down and picking up my briefcases here. That's what I'm doing. And you can check us out there and download that app. So that'll be easy to kind of keep that on your system. Or you can go to ABTV Live and the Digital Broadcasting Network, facebook.com/Jesse Terrero. So there's a couple of places to go as we walk into the station here. I just love the technology. Way back in days gone by, in the OG days, when you were running late to your radio show, you I mean, you asked the guy that was on before you to fill with a couple PSAs or a long song or something, but the program director would always know you were late because it was just never exactly the same. It didn't have the same feel as if you were there coming on. But now we can do this fun stuff with the technology, which kind of adds a different element to it, kind of a real time. This is like the real deal element. That's what we try to do. We try to keep it real here at thepowervoices.com. And a lot of times I'm out in the town, around, mobile, in the city, doing what I do. You can see kind of, for those who are here, that's a conference room here at the radio station. And that's our restroom right there. And this is our kitchen. Our kitchen right here, kitchen facility. It's kind of cool, isn't it? See, yeah. Got food there waiting for me. They're so very nice here. They feed us at thepowervoices.com. They're just terrific. And this is our conference room back over here. Look at these cool pictures. Kind of neat, huh? For folks that can't see it and you're just listening to radio, got a guy drumming, dad and his son kind of playing guitars, a pretty girl playing the guitar, a big kind of Batman, Mickey Mouse, scary face looking guy, and a girl who looks like my daughter playing the guitar. This is our conference. This is like our meeting room where we do presentations and stuff. So it's kind of cool that way. And behind this wall that I'm walking by, this is there's another studio. Let's peek. Let's hear. See. Let's hear. See, right? So we're sneaking up and we're listening. We shouldn't be doing this. It's like when you were your roommate and you came home by yourself, but your roommate didn't, and they shut their door. Right? You guys all.
That's a recording of the Fat Girls World.
Right. You see how that is? We're sneaking up. They don't know we're here listening. I think that's kind of neat. Kind of sneaky, huh? Yeah. Hey, and there's Lee, the mystery voice that was talking to me just there, and he said something about fat girls, and we like our fat girls. That's right. Did you know that the obesity in America has increased over the last 20 years? I was reading a health study today, and the study said that over the last 20 years, the average male, didn't talk about females, thankfully, the average male has increased his weight by just about 20 pounds over the last 15 years. Wow. So that my feeling of everybody's gotten bigger in America, it's absolutely true. There's a study that says that. And they blame it on one particular thing, Lee. There's Lee, everybody. Say hi, Lee. Okay. This is what they blame it on, Lee. I know I'm on two microphones at once here, and I don't know which one I should be plugging into. Should I turn this one off now?
can.
See,
I get like a delayed
echo
echo
thing,
thing,
Right.
but
but
it's not
not
delayed
delayed
echo
echo out there,
is it?
is it?
No.
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 Well, it is because you've got that
Right.
Right.
repeat through that coming back.
Oh,
Oh, so they're hearing like Echo
Jesse,
Jesse, like in the Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's cool.
All
All right,
then
then I'm going to try out for Vince Scully's job,
or
or the PA announcer, Lawrence
Tanner,
Tanner, who's the PA announcer for the LA Dodgers. I work with.
And what he said, this is how he did it. He said, this is how it goes. Up to bat, to bat, to bat, to bat, to bat. For the Los Angeles, Dodgers. Number 22. Many. Moda. Pretty good, huh? Okay, in order to get that kind of job here in Los Angeles, working for the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? You have to have one of those really rich, big, deep, gothic kind of godlike baritone voices, right? Because they just don't hire guys that have normal voices like me for those jobs here in Los Angeles. You got to have one of those bruisey kind of big bottom end kind of giant voices. Because now in other cities across the nation, they do hire guys that have the common type of voice that I have, but not here in Los Angeles. You have to have a voice like this, really low. ThePowerVoices.com. We're here in the studio live. We're on the air and everywhere. It's from the community to the world. You know, we have an interesting way of introducing the show every day. It's something new. We just never know how we're going to do the show in the intro, but we do know that we're going to get it done in some fashion or form. And it's always a most interesting way that we start the show. I know a lot of shows always start out the same way. Like Lee Michaels' show, he's got a beautiful music going on and a beautiful logo happening, and he's got a beautiful way with that beautiful voice of his in the morning from 10 to 12, and he starts off the show that way. And I've watched so many other shows, and they all have these beautiful videos and cut and all. It's just gorgeous. And I thought, well, you know, so I figured I'm doing my best version of starting off the show, and the best way I know how is to not know how to start off the show is just to start off the show. And however it goes, right? It's like two guys sitting at a bar, right? They walk in and say, hi, hey, right? And it just kind of, you know, start talking. I mean, that's kind of the way I start off the show. But right now I'm going to do the professional start off the show way, okay? Because we've got a very good topic to talk about. We're going to give our friend Joshua Macias one more try. We love Joshua, and he's going to be giving us a call. He is the chairperson for the Veterans for Trump Coalition. And he also, his organization doesn't really care whether you're Democratic, Independent, whether you're conservative, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party. If you're a veteran, his organization will help you in many, many, many different ways. But anyhow, so he's going to be calling in here. We had the Admiral yesterday, Admiral Kubik, which was a very interesting conversation. We learned some things about the Vietnam War. We learned some things about Afghanistan and Iraq, and we learned some things about our United States military and government and whatnot. But today we're going to learn some more things about the veterans and how they're being treated and what we can do for them. And so he'll be calling at 424-227-9461. We tried calling him yesterday on 3 or 4 numbers, but apparently I got all the numbers wrong. I had the 1 instead of a 2 and a 3 instead of a 7 and a 7 instead of a 0 and a 0 instead of a 1. You know, you juxtapose one number there and you're in trouble. So he's going to give us a call here in about 10 minutes after the hour. So we'll be coming up that. So we better do a professional introduction here, okay? So this is my version of a professional introduction with music and everything, all right? All right, so, all right, here we go. Ready? A 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the powerofvoices.com featuring Jesse T and the Jesse T Show live at 5 from the community to the world. We're straight on the point, all around the air and everywhere. It's Jesse T. The Brown Beauty is on duty. Let's bring on Jesse Terrero. What do you think? Pretty good? Pretty darn good, huh? Not bad. Come on, you got to give me some love, brother.
I will have you a music intro tomorrow. Okay.
You see, folks. Shh, don't tell Lee. That was my way of getting the music intro.
I kind of figured that. I said, oh, Lord.
Yeah, that was my way.
He's conning me into doing some more work on his behalf. Okay, I got the message.
You got the message? Okay, I'm taking us off of Skype here, and I'm putting us on Facebook here on our Facebook feed on AVTV Live. We've been on our Skype feed here on the powervoices.com, and I don't care. I think that intro was pretty darn creative. I think it was on the spot. It was like, really cool, and it was really inventive. But it could use some help in tone quality and balance of sound. That's for sure. When I took singing lessons a long time ago, at the end of my year of singing lessons, my coach, he actually gave me an envelope back. And in the envelope was, a lot of money. And he said, I'm giving you all your money back, Jesse, for coming here to learn how to sing, because you, my son, I will never be able to teach how to sing or hold even a tone for more than about 3 seconds. And so I'm going to give you all your money back, and please don't ever come back. So can you relate to that? Huh? Yeah, that's how bad of a singer I am. I mean, look at, I talk about being released from radio stations over the years, from being released from their employ for one reason or another. Come on now. I mean, I've had a long career, and I've worked at a lot of places, and I jest about being released from different radio stations. But the reality is, you got something going wrong when your singing coach tells you never to come back. He goes, please, take this money. Don't come back to me anymore, please. Please. I said, okay, Christopher Robin. That was his name, Christopher Robin. Yeah. And he looked like a big, giant polar bear. He was like a big, giant Grizzly Adams character, teddy bear. You can Google search what Grizzly Adams, the actor, was all about. Anyway. www.thepowervoices.com. We are here live, and we're awaiting a special phone call from Joshua Macias. We're going to talk more about veterans issues. I'm going to just reach back over here and grab my briefcase a little bit farther away from the microphone than I usually am, so I'll have to pick up the voice a little bit, and moving back into the camera here. Good to have you guys along. Last night on the fabulous Jesse T Show, Dan the Man, the Package, and I, we were out at Warner Brothers Studios, and we've decided that we're going to go investigate the movie studios here in town at night. We're not going to do it in the daytime. We're going to do the night investigation of the movie studios. And the reason why is that's because when all the posters are lit up and all the studios are lit up, they look kind of cool. So we were out there on right in front of gate number 2 at Warner Brothers. The main gate, you've seen it like in the movie Blazing Saddles, where the guys come running out of the main gate, chasing each other at the end of the movie, and that great song that they had right at the end. And you've seen the front gate. I think John Travolta in one of the Get Shorty movies, one of those 2 or 3 movies he did, they shot the front gate. That's gate number 2 there at the Warner Brothers Studios. But it's been something that you've seen in a lot of places. So we were there, and we were checking that out. And Dan the Man, the Package, we have a new thing we call twin cams. That's right. We twin cam it. We are both on the same camera, and then we split apart, and he goes one direction, and I go the other direction, and we call it the twin cams point of view, where we're independent but yet very dependent on each other, and it's kind of cool. It runs simultaneously live on 2 feeds into our Facebook.com's platform, facebook.com/Jesse Terrero. And the reason why we are doing that, we're testing some interesting new twists in the technology to add a little bit of different styling to what we're trying to put out there. And it kind of went kind of cool. It was a little rough, but we did the twin cams thing, and we're going to be doing that every time Dan Demand, the package, is on. We're going to be doing twin cams, point of view, and it's kind of cool. He kind of goes off. We come together. He goes off and does his thing. He's running live at facebook.com/Jesse Terrero, and we'll be on Roku. We'll bump it up to Roku when it's ready. And then and I'll be on another live feed right there at the same time, so you could kind of look at both live feeds going, talking about the same kind of topic, but yet getting a different point of view from he and I. And that's kind of neat, kind of interesting. Got a chance to talk to terrific actor Rich Graff today. He's in New York doing the filming. He's a guy that plays Lucky Luciano in the cable series. I believe it's on HBO. I'm not quite sure which network it's on, but it's going into its 2nd season. He plays Lucky Luciano, the great Italian Jewish gangsters of the 1920s and 1930s. And you had Bugsy Siegel, you had Lucky Luciano. Of course, he was Italian. You had Myron Lansky. Lansky and Luciano were, they were like the bosses of all that. That's kind of when the 5 families started and whatnot. So we had a nice chance to chat with him today, and he's back there shooting in New York. And when he comes out, we're going to have some fun. He's going to join us here on the powervoices.com, as well as the fabulous Jesse T Show, and we're going to have some fun there. So today was a day, I don't know if we got that phone call in, but today was a day, let me double check. Did we get that phone call in from Joshua Macias? I'll have to check in with Lee and see here. But today was an interesting day because we get more information readily available to us about both political parties and their positioning and their kind of wrangling back and forth. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here, as well as a few other things. I just wanted to grab one thing out of the briefcase here. So hold on one second. Oh yeah, look what I found. Now, is this cool? For those of you who don't have the live feed on the TV Digital Broadcasting Network, I've got a Life magazine of the original Beatles. The Fab Four, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. I've got the original cover here on Life magazine of the Beatles. Unbelievable stuff. This was them in the 1970s. And I found this in my library of things the other night. I wanted to show it off a little bit. It's a Life magazine reunion special, the Beatles from yesterday to today, and Paul, George, Ringo, and John Lennon. So that's it's got some interesting articles in here about the Beatles way back in yesteryear. The Beatles were really one of the world's greatest groups of all time. On the Ed Sullivan Show, I'm sure you've seen the video. They were here in Los Angeles at the Hollywood Bowl, and an old-timer friend of mine, Bob Eubanks, was a part of bringing them here. Bob Eubanks, of course, is the guy who's always on the Rose Bowl parade. I think the phone rang while you stepped out at about 10 after, so I don't know if he's there or not on the 424 line. I heard something ring, so hopefully he'll call back. If he didn't, we can't trace the call back, can we? Okay. Anyhow, so Bob Eubanks, who is the master of ceremonies of the Rose Parade, this last year is the last year he's going to do that. He retired, but he was very instrumental in bringing the Beatles to the Hollywood Bowl here in Los Angeles for the first time. Of course, they were at Shea Stadium in New York first, and then they came out to Los Angeles and for the big Hollywood Bowl presentation and the Beatles. This was Beatles from 1970, a cover of Life magazine. I thought it would be kind of cool. Dan the Man, the package, my buddy at night on the fabulous Jesse T show, he actually hiked up back over the Hollywood Hills and through people's driveways and backyards, he and his buddies, and got up at the top of the Hollywood Bowl and kind of skinnied down the cliff there and snuck in the back way and watched the Hollywood Bowl presentation of the Beatles. And he tells some great stories about that. But I thought that was real cool. Here's another thing I wanted to show off a little bit, some stuff that's happening here. We have a new show coming up here on our TV digital broadcasting network, and it's original programming. Is he there? Okay, it's original programming, and it's called The Hunter. So I wanted to show that to you here before we go to Joshua Macias here. And The Hunter, as you may or may not know, folks, I am the co-director of the Coalition Against Human Trafficking and Pimp Trafficking here in Los Angeles. My partner is Cindy Sauer. She and I have been the leaders of this organization for about 10 years. She was fighting this on her own about 15 years prior, so she's been at it for about 25 years. I joined forces because I just got fed up in an area that I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. It was just being attacked by pimps. It was like the pimp infestation. And pimping women on the street is human trafficking, because almost all of these women who are underage, under the age of 16, are trafficked from another state or trafficked from another country. They don't come from here. And so the minute that happens, they become human trafficking victims. And so we have an organization called Coalition Against Human Trafficking, or CAHT, C-A-H-T, at facebook.com/Coalition Against Human Trafficking. This is a new show that I finally finished 3 scripts. I finally wrote 3 scripts. Even though it's a real show, it's going to be a real reality show, and it's called The Hunter, Hunting Human Trafficking. We're not just going to parlay that into the sexual aspects of human trafficking, but there's also forced labor, kidnapping, murder. There's also all kinds of baby selling, black market baby selling, organ selling. It's really disgusting. And so we're going to cover this is going to be a cool show, because part of it is going to be dramatic, a drama type series, and then part of it is going to be a reality-based aspect where we actually are rolling with the coppers and the FBI and stuff like that. And then a part of it is going to be totally interactive with you, the viewer, helping us find our next bad guy, our next human trafficker. So I finally got done writing the 3 scripts that I needed to write, and we're going to be going to production here as soon as we can. All right, so we've got Joshua Macias here on the line. Hey, Joshua, what's happening, my friend?
Hey, man, we're doing great over here in Norfolk, Virginia. Just connected with some of the VIPs and Vets for Trump. It was exciting.
Hey, we missed you yesterday, but we did have a wonderful conversation, and I wanted to thank you very much with Admiral Kubik. What a terrific and interesting
Kubik,
man.
I saw him today. He did the Pledge of Allegiance at our Virginia Beach event. You can see it on Periscope. We have that all live at Vets_4_Trump. That's our Twitter account, and we have live feeds coming with all of the Mike Pence events that we get to.
So let me tell you, folks, who Joshua Macias is and the connection and why we're talking today with Joshua. Joshua is the chairperson of the Veterans for Trump Coalition. And it's about a year old, not quite, and it is growing by leaps and bounds exponentially. Lots of veterans are joining this organization to, of course, help other veterans that need help, the issues for veterans that are returning, issues for veterans that have been here for a while, putting together different groups and getting the right information for folks that need help, maybe perhaps with PTSD or physical natures or job creation or re-education. And so Joshua's group has all of that ability and that information to help veterans do that. And it's a coalition of a large number of men and women joining forces together under one idea, and that is to support our veterans, to provide them what our country is not providing them, to step up and say, we're here to help in every way we can, even though our government has let you down. Do I pretty much have it on the button?
You got it, my friend. You're hitting the nail on the head for sure.
Now, why is it, Joshua, why is it that our government has let our veterans down? It seems to me that since the end of the Vietnam War, we should have learned how to take care of the men and women who take care of us. And
Yeah.
what went wrong here in the last 25 years?
That's a good question. Well, so without going into too much history, during the Vietnam era, we lost a lot of soldiers in Vietnam, right? Over 50,000 deaths. Well, we've done a great job in protecting our military and our troops overseas when it comes to wars. When you look at the Iraq wartime, we lost about 7,000 at that time, but we had over 250,000 injured. So when it comes to our the way that we act within the theater of war during wartime and also during the police states that we take over, we failed in a lot of areas. When you start to politicize a war effort rather than allowing the veterans, the active duty and the combat to do what they need to do to win the war, that's when it really gets worse. And so in the Vietnam era, they were not prepared for all the Agent Orange, all the issues over time. And the VA has not been able to take care of them. They realize they need to take care of themselves. And so the VA is only capable to adequately support 5 to 10% of the VA of the veterans out there. So they just don't want to go. Quite frankly, they don't want to get go back into an institution when they just got left an institution.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're leaving a very restrictive organization, and then you're going into another institution, and yet the services aren't adequate enough. From one of the veterans that I've talked to over the years and decades, they're very disillusioned about the doctoring, about the way in which they're treated for their ailments, that it doesn't seem to be in that sector they can get the same kind of treatment. That's kind of the message I've received over the years.
Well, when you have an amputee and he's lost his limb from the knee down, and he wants to look at an athletic prosthetic, the VA cannot support that. And when we look at the new technologies that are coming out, I mean, let's just talk about your phone for Pete's sake. I mean, in a matter of 18 months, your phone is going to be obsolete, right?
Right.
Imagine what it's like for a limb and what we go through with prosthetics. And the VA can barely hold on to and support the most up-to-date, influential equipment that's out there. So a veteran will look to a private institution, a private resource, a nonprofit to get that support. Why are there so many nonprofits that are filling the needs out there? It's because the VA can't keep up or handle all of these issues. That's why the VA has failed us in so many ways. Now, I know that we're trying, but the trying isn't making it happen. We need to change and reform the VA system. Donald Trump has the right plan.
Shouldn't we be changing the system? If we know the statistics and we know the problems and we know the issues, I mean, shouldn't we be putting the right people into play here over the last 10 years or 15 years? I mean, what's going on here?
Like anything, Jesse, we need action. We need doing. We need people to step up and do something, not just lip service. And that's all we've received over the politicians over the past decade. I've watched as I left out of my service time in 2002, and I started beating on this war drum for my own self, but also all of my comrades in arms, those who were not high functioning, those who were unable to defend themselves. And I started beating this war drum and stating about how we need to reform VA, how we need to reform the system and take care of our veterans. And yet there has been little to no action. It has been nothing but lip service.
Well, how do we change that? I mean, how do we make a giant organization like the VA? Just recently, that lady who was running the VA, the director of the VA, she got brought down on an alleged many corruption charges. I think it was over 20.
We need a purge of the VA system from the top all the way down. Not only do we need to purge the system, we need to also implement the 10-point plan that Donald Trump has that's on his website. It is so clear, and I was a part of that. there was many veterans that he polled and he spoke to that he desired to intimately understand what it was and what it would take in order to reform the VA and take care of the veteran of today. And he listened. He listened to our panels. He listened to our people, and he implemented a plan. He has a plan that's ready to go that will revolutionize the way veterans are taken care of, and it will end the thinking that we are second-class citizens. That will end with this plan that he has.
Talk to me a little bit about what plan, if there has been a plan over the last 8 to 12 years, and I'm going back even into the Bush era. I mean, 8 to 12, 15 years. Tell me what plan there was and how this plan can radically change and make those differences.
So when you look at it comes down to basic conservatism, right? Is big government our answer, Jesse? Has it ever been?
No.
Is it always? No, it's not, right? You and I are talking
No.
about this all the time. By no means is bigger government going to be the answer. So why would a bigger VA government program be the answer? It's not. You can't just throw money at these issues and watch them go away. It's not going to happen. So we can't just keep increasing the budget, keep taking the money out of the taxpayer's hand, and keep pushing it into a bigger VA. The VA can't even handle what they have. They spend $10 million on a light fixture, for Pete's sake. What are they thinking? They have their mind and their head in the wrong place. They're not handling the issues at hand. So Donald has a plan that takes it and privatizes many of the issues that we have backups on, and he brings it out to the open market.
All right, let me stop you right there.
Enterprise.
Let's talk about the privatization. That's very interesting because as we already know, the VA can only absorb so much, like 5 to 10%. All right, so there's 90 to 95% left out there. They got to go somewhere. So into the private sector. So this privatization concept, can you give me a little more details? That's very interesting on how that can come together.
Yeah, for sure. So when it looks at helping to help a veteran that is outside of the system, that doesn't want to go to the VA hospital or VA medical center, he wants to go out and ensure that he gets the proper care. Well, that's what the choice card is all about. That means putting the veteran first and his needs first, not the system first, which is what it's been like all this time, constantly over and over and over again, system. No, it's the veteran need. So the veteran's not getting taken care of. He can go out immediately and get the service he needs anywhere.
Well,
that's what we're going to see a difference in.
And that's an important item because if you look at the history of the Veterans Administration, let's go back to World War II when really all of this came into play on a large scale because we had 5 to 7 million men and women coming back from the theater of war that had served, and there were a couple of things that shaped the middle class America. One was education. We had basically free education for our veterans coming back. Whether they had a 6th grade education or they were high school, we would take them all the way through college. That's because we needed to create an educated population to retool the rest of the planet that was destroyed after World War II. We had to build and rebuild. So we had to have an educated society. Number 2, housing. The Veterans Administration was put together and mass housing was built across the country. FH and VA financing, which really was the key to housing, that a veteran could go in with a GI Bill when he was honorably discharged and he had the proper paperwork, he could go in and get a no money down loan for 30 years. That was unheard of prior to the beginning of World War II. That was unheard of. The banking systems did not do that. It was only after World War II that they did that. So that was the number 2 thing. So they had education and they had housing, okay, essentially free housing. Of course, they had to pay for their mortgage payment and such, and they had to participate in their education a little bit, but at a very nominal level. Then the third thing was health care. We took care of our veterans in health care through the VA system, of course, because that's where they all went to. But when they went outside the VA, they could have the proper amount of money to take care in the private sector their challenges and their issues because they were a veteran that was honorably discharged. So the money was there for them. But since then, we still have education, but it costs. We have housing. It's still the same, more or less, but it's the healthcare systems outside the VA. These vets get racked with these dollars. That has to stop.
No, I agree with you 100%. There's many, many things that have to stop, and that's just one of the facets of those issues.
So privatization is very important. But under Obamacare, how are we going to afford supporting privatization to veterans who are retooling their bodies and their minds and their souls? How are we going to come up with the money to be able to support in the private world these veterans that need this extra special kind of help? How is that going to happen?
Well, I think, it's already there. The funding's already allocated to the VA. So it's not like we're going to be shifting or not making it happen. We're just going to pay the bill. It's already available to them. But we're going to stop all the corruption. We're going to stop the $10 million chandelier purchases for the VA hospital. We're going to be able to ensure that we take care of the veteran first, that we're not putting the policies first. We're not putting the VA system first, but we're taking care of the veteran first.
Well, you said something really important there, the corruption. Well, we know that government is corrupt today. I mean, we see it every single day.
Everywhere.
More so than ever before in my 55 years of life on this planet. It blows
my grandpa
my
would
mind.
roll over. Yeah, roll over in his grave over this.
I'm not saying, and I'm not naive, and I'm not a Puritan saying that there was never corruption. There's always been corruption when you have power, control, and money. There's always some sort of corruption, but it just, because perhaps it's the technology, we just see the corruption everywhere. And I think the American public is sick and tired of government at the federal level and the corruption that has been there, and they don't seem to ever have to be accountable for their corrupt ways.
I agree with you. People just roll over on it. They just think they're a doormat, and that's not true. We, the people, can make a difference. We can elect and change what's going on, and that's what Donald Trump can do. That's why we're here. I agree with you.
So Veterans for Trump, the coalition that you put together just about a year ago, not quite. What are the creeds? What are some of the main the maxims, we call them, the model of what you're trying to accomplish with this organization? I think there's about 70,000 men and women in your organization now.
Well, just in our cause page alone, we have 70,000 that are following our cause. But across the country, we have numerous coalitions that have been established, and both in your backyard and our backyard of California, and all across to here in Virginia and to the whole East Coast. We're popping up in all the key states and the key swing states. And our focus in Veterans for Trump and then our subsidiaries and Vets for Trump, we're here to ensure that Donald Trump becomes president, and we are the backbone. Veterans are the backbone of the Trump movement. And right alongside with the Bikers for Trump, you ask them, Chris Cox would say that the veteran is the backbone of the community and is the backbone of the Bikers for Trump. I mean, all of these movements, everywhere you go, the veteran is the one who is willing to stand up and fight. We run to the fight. We don't run away from it. We will stand firm and support Donald Trump because he is with vets and he backs us as well. And then we have had no voice. I mean, I'm not yet 40 years old, but I can tell you from a little guy, when I heard Ronald Reagan, there are no voices for the veteran community like there has been for Donald Trump that has given us such a stage on the world platform to say that this needs to change. So we back him 100% in this endeavor, and we also step forward, and he gives us a stage. I just was showing Mike Pence here in Norfolk, and we were showcasing there was about, I'd say, 5 veteran or active duty that were in his 15 people that were able to get photographs with him in the backstage that he brought out, and 2 of which were running for local government control Senate seats, as well as congressmen. I mean, we have veterans are stepping up every step of the way, and we're ensuring that veterans have a seat at the GOP with GOP vets, and that's changing. The whole face of our government control is changing because veterans are stepping up. We are realizing that we need to step in, and we are oath takers. So the Lieutenant Governor from Virginia is a Marine veteran. I mean, we desire to uphold the Constitution, and we were willing to sacrifice, as some have, their very lives. I mean, there was any time when I was overseas in Yemen that someone could have blown up right next to us, just like the coal bombing. We set a precedent there to have ships come in. 2 years later, the coal got bombed, and friends that I know were a part of that.
Why
Any
is it?
moment, our
Why
life
is
was on
it?
the line.
Why is it that from your point of view, why is it that the Obama administration doesn't seem to understand that basic issue right there when it comes to veterans issues when they come home? What is stopping this current administration, and what many would say, if Clinton is elected president, it's just an extension of an Obama third time as president. I mean, in terms of that. So why is it that the Democratic Party doesn't get it?
Well, let's just look at who they placed in there. It's nothing but D.C. bureaucrats. And what are their cares for? I mean, what is it that they want to see happen? Do they care intently about the veteran population or about their own pockets? Because
if you look at the VA director, she's clearly only cared about her pockets.
Well, there you go, right? I mean, there's our issue. It all starts at the top, and it rolls on down from there. When you look at the Obama administration, continually they have placed somebody in their position into these other positions that do not even understand what it is to empathize or sympathize with the veteran community. So all they care about is pushing the paper, pushing the money around.
And they did push some money around the last couple of days to the tune of $400 million.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah. And they'll just print money, quantitative easing. Let's just go through all of that gamut, right?
Yeah, but, when you think about it, though, Reagan did the same thing with the Contra arms deal with Carter and Reagan. He did the same thing. My beef is, he did it guns for exchange for the hostages to come back. My biggest beef here in the difference is that shouldn't we have learned from what we did in Iran under the Reagan administration? I mean, at what point in time does America's government finally figure out that we can't parlay with kidnappers?
I don't get it. I mean, when I was over there 7 miles off the coast of Iran, I could tell you we were enforcing those embargoes, and we held their feet to the fire, those mullahs over there that are not even Iranian themselves. They're Afghanistan and Syrian, and they're not even born in that country. It's just like it's a total hostile takeover.
Well, many of the people in Iran, they're Persian. They're not Arabs. I think Americans lose the understanding that they speak Farsi. They speak a completely different language. If in fact they have more ties to India in terms of where the logistics of their education and where they came from than they do from Saudi Arabia or the desert. So they're not they're and the Ayatollahs are just henchmen. They're just henchmen.
They are henchmen. They're just gangsters. I mean, they're not. But the Iranian people are amazing. They're very progressive. I mean, without getting into too much about them,
right?
But just understanding that they have look. When I speak and sit next to Iranians for Trump, and we helped to create a diverse coalition base in the states of Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and around D.C., and also in Delaware. And we started the diversity coalitions. So we came together with Muslims and Sikhs and Iranians. I mean, across the board, Indian, and we created these coalitions along with Veterans for Trump at the epicenter of this because we cover every demographic there is. We're black, we're white, we're Latino, we're Hispanic, whatever you want to say. We're Japanese, Asian, we're every demographic there is out there. But when we bleed red, and we know that. And when we see color, all we see is haze gray and underway, or we see navy blue, or we see army fatigue green. We don't see the skin color. We don't see the Asian persuasion or any of that. Latinos. I'm Hispanic and English by descent and also Cherokee Indian. We don't go to that level and just go through that. What we care about is when you're in the foxhole and next to you is a body and a person that you're protecting, there is a brother or sister at arms, you're covering each other's six. You see past all that. And when I speak to those who have served overseas for their own country, like in Iran, before everything went down, we, the people, come together because we are freed men and we care about freedom. And we come together and band together because we care about freedom.
You
That's
see
why
what?
we're here as Americans.
This was a problem that I had with the DNC's representation of Mr. Khan and Mrs. Khan,
Oh my
and their hero son, like the admiral was talking yesterday. He explained exactly to us and our audience and our viewers what happened with Captain Khan. He totally
Yes.
explained it right down to the nitty gritty. And you know, Captain Khan was a hero, man. He was out
He
there
is a hero.
protecting his soldiers in arms. He stepped out in front. He stepped
He
out.
sure
and
did. He led.
He led. He led by example, and he died by example. And he is a hero. It was the rules of engagement that stopped
right.
him and his fellow soldiers from being able to protect themselves. Now, here's the problem that I have with the current administration and the DNC bringing out Mr. and Mrs. Khan. The first portion of their speech was absolutely tear-jerking. I mean, there is no way I could ever imagine my son and my daughter
I can't.
losing them.
I can't either.
It's beyond my conceivability. I mean, my father,
There's no word for that.
when I was 13 years old, my dad served in Korea, flew off the USS Lexington. And when I was 13 years old and Vietnam hadn't stopped yet and it was going on and on, my dad was figuring what he's going to do with his son. He figured he's going to take me and shoot my foot off while I was sleeping at night. My son's not going to go, you know. I mean, because he, you know, that didn't have to happen. But here's the point: because he would have made me enlist, he would have made me go for the draft, and then before I go, he shoot my foot off at night while I'm sleeping. That's my dad. Okay, I'm gonna do the right thing. But here's the point. The point is, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, you know, the loss is I can't even speak to the words of the loss. You know, but then a shift in their speech changed, and they politicized it and blamed Trump for something that he had no part of. He wasn't even in the picture.
Not even there.
And they're blaming Trump for something that he hasn't even done yet. It's like they could foretell the future of what
It's ridiculous.
he's going to do. And then and on the other side of the coin, at the RNC convention, when Mrs. Smith was brought out and her son died a heroic death, a hero, and you just feel for her, and then her speech shifted politically, politicizing the event a little bit, and she said it was Hillary Clinton because of Benghazi, because she was in charge. And what we learned yesterday from Admiral Kubik is how in charge Mrs. Clinton was during the Benghazi. She shut it down for 2 hours. 2 hours, and the extraction unit was ready to take them out, fly in, get them out, and she shut it down over uniform usage and stuff. Now that drives me insane because that shows the corruption of government. It shows the lack of care of the individual. It shows the lack of care of the military men and women who are sacrificing their lives on the line and our ambassadors. It shows the lack of care for only themselves and how they look to the public when this thing comes out. And it's just so evident the contrasting difference between the two, between Trump and Clinton. Okay, it's so evident that it blows my mind that people can't understand the clarity of that. Do you want somebody that is going to do the right thing for the right reason and the right cause and build our military back up and get us to where the rest of the world respects us, or do you want the status quo for the next 4 to 8 years? I mean, that's the choice, right?
That's right. Yeah. Let's just think about what it means to be commander-in-chief. The commander-in-chief is meant to stand up and do what is necessary to protect his people and his military, right?
Right.
And even at that time, Obama put it out that whatever it took, protect our people. And Hillary Clinton went against that, a direct order from the commander-in-chief, stalled, waylaid, all because, as you stated, because of uniforms and her political positioning, probably whoever was in her pocket or paying her at the time, and decided not to do and didn't do anything. And she lied and people died. And when you think back to that, when you look at the gentleman who just came out just 2 days ago, the father of one of the men who died during the Benghazi terror attack,
Yes.
Charles Woods.
Right.
Charles Woods, who's actually a personal friend of Admiral Kubik and knows him really well, so Tyrone Woods gave his life defending those fellow Americans. And he was willing to do whatever it took to protect those who are the CIA and also his old friends. And when you think about what he says, let's just look at some of the things that he talked about just a few days ago. Verbatim, he said, she stood in front of my son's casket and blamed the rage directed at American embassies upon the video that she said we had no part of. That is just plain out ridiculous. She had a chance to show what it would take to be the commander-in-chief at that moment, and she had 30 lives to protect. That just 30 lives. How in the world can she protect 350 million when she can't protect 30 in Benghazi?
One of the things
president.
one of the things that we learned from the admiral is that President Obama, and I got to tell you, I've been a really harsh critic on him since he was elected the first time, and I've been a very harsh critic on the Bushies, Bush 1 and Bush 2 as well. I have some very harsh words for them as well. But the point is that President Obama gave the order as a commander-in-chief. Admiral told us that. President Obama gave the order to take our people out, to get them out of harm's way right now and do everything you can do to get them out. It is time to do it. And she denied that order. She broke the trust of her boss. She denied fulfilling the order of the President of the United States of America. People, are you hearing me? She said, well, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. And the president said, no more wait a minutes. It's right now. President Obama, who I have been a harsh critic against, probably one of the harshest, he gave the right order at the right time, at the right moment. He did the right thing to protect our citizens, and she denied, and people died. And people just don't get that.
I don't understand how you can vote for someone like that. I don't get it. I don't understand how you would give the power of the seats and the bully pulpit and everything when she had the opportunity to step up and do what was right to protect our people. She did not do it because of political gain.
Well, just look at the spring, the Arab Spring. That was all her.
Oh my! All her actions. Arab Spring is why we have ISIS today.
That's right.
All of those issues is because of Arab Spring.
Yeah, that's why.
All boils down. If
Libya's
you just bring up
ISIS.
Arab Spring, Jesse, no one understands that. They don't get Arab Spring. What is that? It's a spring in the Persian Gulf? No, people. Yeah. It is a policy. It's what they enacted in order to create the turmoils we have on Libya and everywhere else. This is why Germany's rolled over and said it's no longer a German, but they're infiltrated by ISIS. And you see all the attacks in Paris. All of that is because of the Arab Spring.
They toppled governments for a geopolitical, economic, financial, bank cartel reason. They toppled governments because some of these governments over there decided that they wanted to have their own currency. They wanted to trade in gold and not the U.S. dollar through the IMF and the Federal Reserve here in America. They toppled the governments because of the bank cartels said, no, we need to have centralized banking in these countries. We need to control that. Going into the Persian Gulf War, there were 9 countries in the world that were not part of the IMF. Coming out to today, 2016, there's only 2 left, North Korea and Iran. And both of those are going to drop soon. Okay, here's the point. This is an economic decision that was made through the amorous of somebody's greed being compelled to hide the truth so that people could get what they wanted, and some people died for it, and nobody gets it. It's just that simple. Nobody gets it. And how dare you allow somebody to want to become president because of that? It makes absolutely no sense. And then you have Donald Trump, who wants to come in here and say, listen, we got a clean house. This is the way it is. This is what you don't like it? Too bad. I'm sorry. We got a clean house. We got to bolster our military. We got to make it greater than it is today. We have to do the things we have to do. They're not going to be tasteful, but hey, we got to get it done. Otherwise, we aren't going to have an America.
No, we're not. Do you want to sit there and watch the patient with cancerous tumors that you can do surgery on and relieve and just sit there and contemplate it. No, you get in, you pull out the cancer, you get out the tumor, you let the body heal, and you move on. Right now, Hillary just wants to let the patient, which is America, continue to receive cancer and eat away at the very soul of America constantly, over and over again, so that she and her foundation and her husband can just fill their pockets over and over again. You can see it. I'm pretty sure that when the Clintons came in, they did not have the same money that they do now. It is obvious what they're all about. And it's not about loving America.
Bill Clinton made Bill Clinton made $35,000 a year as the governor of Arkansas. At the same time, Hillary Clinton was making about $150,000 a year as a lawyer on one of the top oldest law firms in the United States of America. The third oldest law firm, the Ross Morgan law firm out of Arkansas, the third oldest law firm in America. She was one of the top lawyers, litigant lawyers, and business attorneys there. She was making about in the 1980s, before they were elected in the end of the 1980s. No, they weren't millionaire and millionairesses, but they certainly are now. Here's the point: is we have to end up the show because we're running out of time. We got a few minutes, but here it is. For me, when the admiral said to me, "This is an admiral. This isn't just some schmo on the street. This is not.
Isn't.
This is not just some. This guy has a flawless record. To become an admiral, a general in the United States of America, you have to have a flawless record. You can't if you have
thousands and thousands of lives are underneath his decision making. Thousands. And he brought them home safe.
All the time. And so this is a guy that's got quality, he's got quantity, he's qualified, he's verified, he's everything. So what he says, you have to listen to what this man says. Okay? Outside his political dogma, you still have to listen to the facts and cut through it. And he said something yesterday that was so apparent to me, and I did not know this. Out of all of my research on this thing, is that President Obama gave the order to get the ambassador and the Marines and the personnel out of there now, and she delayed that order by 2 hours and people died. That right there from an admiral says a lot.
It sure does. It sure does. Well, Jesse, I thank you again. I just want to let your listeners know that they can find us on vets-for-Trump.com. Please, any veteran out there, any active duty member, any military spouse, any military family member, get on that website. It's a national website.
You don't have to be Republican or Democrat or conservative
or
green or
all.
libertarian.
I'm an independent.
Yes.
I've been an independent my whole life, but I came here to ensure that our veteran voice would be heard. And that site is a national site, and your voice will be heard. It will get put out to social media. And we are 1 degree separated to the ear of Donald Trump. And I'll tell you what, he hears the voice of the veterans. And we are part of that voice. We are a megaphone. We are a microphone. We are also the high-tech, high-touch inside of the veterans and connection to Donald Trump campaign. Please get your word to us, and we will make sure that Donald hears it. And any of those other listeners, they can reach us at that site, and they can also connect to us locally, and we will get them engaged. It is time. It is a call to arms. We have to step forward. We have to make a difference.
Thanks
right
a lot.
now.
Hey, Joshua, I appreciate your time, man. I got to go.
Brother.
I'm going up on a hard line here. The next show is going to start. But I appreciate your words and your wisdom and the thoughts. And we'll be checking back with you to see how things go in that respect. And say hi to the Admiral for us. What a great conversation we had today on thepowerofvoices.com. Some things hopefully you learned. Do your own research. Do your own background. Do your own vetting. Come to the decision based on truth and not emotional hyperbole. Okay, and buffoonery. Okay, come to your own research and do it. Do some reading. This is Jesse T. The Jesse T Show, live at 5 right here, Monday through Friday at 5 to 6. Every day of the week, we're straight on the point. It's Jesse Terrero. And remember, the brown beauty is off duty.